incredible, do you understand?
Yeah.
I'm serious. You think I could have done that without you standing next to me being strong? Are you feeling this? Are you feeling good as I'm feeling right now?
Hello and welcome to A Day in Film. Today's film in question is Good Time, directed by the Safdie brothers, and starring Robert Pattinson. So I've been meaning to watch this film for a while. I didn't really know anything about it going in. I just knew it was one of Robert Pattinson's best roles as of late. And I'm going to be honest, I really love this film. This movie reminds me of why I like films like Taxi Driver and Chungking Express so much. And it's not so much the story or what's being told through that medium, but it's just the soul. This film has just a recognizable soul. And it's mainly the cinematography and the lighting and the camera work and that kind of thing. But in this film especially, it's just so powerful. It's just so drawing, And there are a couple scenes in this movie that, just lighting-wise and composition-wise are just so insane that I can't help but just, they're playing in my head right now as I talk about them. But I really like this movie. This is definitely a great performance from everyone involved, especially Robert Pattinson. But just to do a quick little plot synopsis, this movie follows Robert Pattinson's character Connie trying to get bail money after a successful bank robbery, but the die packs go off, and he is trying to get bail money for his brother, played by Benny Safdie, Nick. So it's kind of something that instantly gets you into the movie. Nick is clearly afflicted with some kind of learning disorder. The movie starts with him in a kind of meeting with a specialist, I guess, and it's Connie who breaks him out. And the bank robbery, it's kind of, you can tell when you're watching it, you the viewer, you can tell their die packs and all that money. But as soon as, the chase starts and the die packs go off and explodes in the back of the dude's car, it's just kind of instantly something's about to go down. And as soon as they both start running and they run into the dominoes to wipe off their faces, and Nick bursts through the glass slider, it's just all it instantly grabs you. And that's an important thing, especially in a film like this where the story is kind of almost second-hand to just what's being visually displayed. This movie automatically has you locked in, and it helps that Robert Pattinson's character Connie really does feel like a caring brother to Nick. You can tell he really does care for him, and after the robbery he's like, "Oh, you were so good in there. I couldn't have done that without you." It's little things like that that make you really like Connie, and you really like their dynamic, Connie and Nick. And after, when Nick goes to jail, it just kind of, the whole movie is, for lack of a better term, it's a shit show. In a good way. The movie's purposefully a shit show. It's just a really fun story up until, the last, 20 minutes, I guess. But before then, it's just kind of lighthearted. There are only, really 4 sets in the entire movie that aren't just streets. Robert Pattinson is a really practical actor. He has a lot of practicality to him. You can really tell in those scenes where he's booking it down the street away from the police. He is putting his all into that foot. And that's another thing I have to compliment about the film is the wardrobe. Because, I don't know how to describe it, but Connie dresses like the most fashionable homeless person you've ever seen. And even though the other outfits in the movie aren't so great, I feel like that's what they really focused on. They really wanted to make Connie's look really memorable and really stand out in your head. And to me, it definitely does. I guess it's kind of a spoiler, but it's not really an important plot beat. Halfway through the movie, he dyes his hair yellow, bright blonde. And it just adds so much to his look, and his super big red jacket and a sweater underneath. It's just a really cool look for his character, who's this kind of almost, I don't want to say dirty, but this kind of low down, he's a bank robber, he's a criminal. And again, it's another one of those things that just adds so much personality to the movie, along with that lighting that I wish I could describe better how beautiful it is. And the soundtrack, I have to compliment the soundtrack because it's this crazy synth score that just fits so well with the events happening in the movie. Again, I have to compare it to Taxi Driver. It's just all these visual and musical aspects just kind of merging together. And the performance, obviously Pattinson is not on par with Robert De Niro in Taxi Driver, but I'm just saying, in a similar way, if lesser, these aspects merge together to make this really memorable movie that you'll probably remember for its visual style more than its story. But to get more into that story, I am going to have to get into spoilers. I definitely recommend you go watch Good Time. It is on Netflix right now. It's a really enjoyable watch. It's one of Robert Pattinson's smaller roles, I guess, and the movie is at a brisk hour 48, so you might as well watch it. It's a really enjoyable movie. Watch it for its visuals, I'd say. But yeah, spoilers from this point on. So I mean, like I was saying earlier, the story, at least in my mind, isn't the main part of this movie. I mean, the driving force is the bail money for Nick, but I feel like it's just more of an excuse for Connie to get into not shenanigans, but just into bad scenarios. I mean, this entire movie is just kind of like an anxiety attack. You know, there's so much stuff happening, and when you find out that the guy that Connie stole from the hospital, played by Buddy Duras, Ray, is not Nick, and there's that moment where he's, has a shard of glass, he's like, back off, man, back off. And, they're kind of bickering throughout the movie. And then Ray is basically going to get Connie killed if Connie didn't run away. It's just, this movie just pumps anxiety into the viewer. And it's an enjoyable, like, you're sitting there hunched over in your chair, like, really intently watching anxiety. And I really like that in this movie. One thing that I found a little weird was when Connie made a move on Crystal, played by Talia Webster. I understand, like, the first time it was to get her attention away from the TV because he's on there. And, that's okay, but, like, after, when he's, like, clearly about to, perform coitus with her, I think it's just a little weird. I guess it's a funny character moment, just to show you how committed to the bit Connie is, but I just don't think it was too necessary. I'm not a prude or anything, I just think it was kind of weird, especially because they intently say she's 16. But speaking on Crystal a little more, I think she adds a lot to this movie that I really enjoyed. It's this nice little, like, almost comic role. You see how strict and how kind of old-fashioned her grandma is, and then she just goes to Connie and she's like, yeah, I go in my room, I sit on my phone, I watch TV, I smoke. It's just this comparatively very different character to Connie and to Ray especially. Ray, the whole movie you kind of dislike Ray. He has this attitude all the time. Connie's just trying to get the money to get Nick out of jail, or out on bond anyway. It's just this really great dynamic through the movie, and they keep it up for a lot of the movie. And to go back to the set pieces in this movie, I really enjoyed all of them. Lighting, again, is just excellent in this movie. The amusement park and the ride that they get stuck in, the house that Crystal and her grandma live in, the final apartment that the night guard lives in. It's just all these really, and again, the visuals are the big factor in this movie that I like so much, because it's just, everything is so memorable, everything is so standout, It's just, I just really like this movie. I just really liked its style. I really appreciate style in a film, almost more than the story. Not to get on a tangent, but that's why I really don't, I like The Godfather and I really enjoyed watching it, but I mean, visually, I just don't think there's a lot there to appreciate. And that's why I love movies like Chungking Express and Taxi Driver so much, because there's just so much visual, just charisma and poise and swagger that the director brings. And the Safdie brothers are great. I don't believe I've seen anything else from them, but I mean, I've seen Ben Safdie in Oppenheimer, but I haven't seen him direct anything else to my knowledge, and I really enjoy their style. If all of their movies are like this, I'll definitely be checking out more. But I mean, that's all I really have to say. This was a really great movie. I love visual movies like this. I'm sorry I haven't uploaded in a while. I was gonna come out with a video on Friday, but it got copyright struck, and I just decided not to post it. It was more effort than it was worth. But that's all I have to say. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I will see you in the theaters.